Hi, everybody, and welcome back. Today we are going to be going over Merton's strain theory, which is also referred to as anomie theory. You can use those terms interchangeably. I will largely refer to it as strain theory. So this was developed in the 1940s, and it was an attempt to explain why crime rates were rising at the time, specifically in American culture. And Merton argued that the reason this was happening was specific to our American ideals and our American culture. So he says that we are all presented with this idea of the American dream, that we all have equal opportunity, we all have the ability to work hard, and as long as you're willing to work hard, you can achieve the American dream, which is defined as success through material goods, wealth, etc. Um, and the argument of the American dream is that you need to obtain these goods through legitimate means. So by getting a job, paying for your bills, saving money, etc. And that if you work hard enough, you will in fact achieve the American dream. But Merton argues that the American dream is actually a fallacy. It's something that is presented to people as an option when in fact it's not an option for everybody in an equal capacity. He says the playing field, we were given this idea that the playing field, we all start at the same spot and it just depends on how hard you work as to where you'll land. But he argues that no, we don't all start in the same spot. Um, we don't have equal opportunity. It's going to depend on factors such as gender and race and etc. as to where you start at the starting line. Some people are going to start at the starting line. Some people are going to start way behind the starting line. Some people are going to start way after the starting line. That's going to depend on factors that are entirely out of our control. And therefore, because we don't have control over where we start, we have less control over where we end up and the success, no matter how hard we work, right? But he says, despite the fact that the American dream is somewhat of a fallacy, it doesn't lessen the social pressure that is specific to American culture about achieving material wealth. He argues that, America is very specific in that we place heavy emphasis on material goods, money, acquiring, obtaining as a definition of success and happiness when compared to other cultures who value things above and beyond material success. So even though we don't have the ability to equally start out and earn and achieve, we don't have any less intense stress placed on us to go and get the material wealth and the success. And he says that it's this disjunction between the two issues, right? That message that we can all achieve and the pressure that this is the only way you are deemed successful. That the disjunction between the two results in strain. And that when people experience strain, they have one of 5 reactions. So there are 5 specific postulates and reactions to this crime according to Merton. And we're going to go through each one. So again, let me just sort of reiterate that when you realize, and eventually we all realize, okay, it doesn't matter how hard I work, I'm going to be limited by certain factors in life, that I can't become rich no matter how hard I work, right? I'm going to be limited by my gender. I'm going to be limited by my race. I'm going to be limited by the socioeconomic status into which I was born, right? That it's not an equal playing field. But I still feel all of that social pressure to get the house and get the car and go to college and have the goods. So therefore, when I realized, okay, the stress of needing all of that stuff doesn't lessen, but my ability to obtain it is not equal to everybody else's, we experience strain, and then we have one of 5 reactions. So the first is going to be conformity. And conformity is simply you realize there's the disjunction, but you say, okay, I'm still going to pursue those culturally valued goals of wealth, material goods, the house, everything else. And I'm going to do it through socially approved means. I'm not going to break the law to acquire my material wealth and my money. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to pay my bills. I'm going to save, and I'm going to conform to society's standards, society's laws and expectations of how to acquire and achieve. Number 2 is going to be the innovators or innovation. And Merton says when people realize this disjunction, they begin to innovate. And this is when somebody uses socially unapproved methods to achieve those socially desired goals. So you still want the material wealth, you still want the house and the car and the goods, but you're just basically responding in a reaction that says, hey, I'm not going to go work a 9 to 5 job to get this. I can't make enough money in a 9 to 5 to earn all of this stuff that I want, that I've been told I need to be successful. So I'm going to innovate. And that means I'm going to make up a different way, a non-socially approved way. I'm going to break the law in order to obtain my goods and my wealth. Specifically, we're looking at, these are going to be people who earn their living, selling stolen goods or dealing drugs or robbing banks or ripping other people off, right? That they're innovating. They're coming up with a new and innovative way to obtain their material wealth. The third reaction, according to Merton, is the ritualist or ritualism. And ritualism is where you use those same socially approved means, right? So the go get a job, a legitimate legal job, pay your bills. So you're going to use those. You're not going to deviate into crime. You're going to be follow the straight and narrow, but you're going to achieve less elusive goals. So instead of saying I'm going to get my job and it doesn't pay much, but I'm following the rules, I'm not breaking the law, but it's never going to make me rich. So I will just lower my expectation of my goals, right? I will get what I can with what I have. And, I will go through the ritual of going to work every day, following the law, paying my bills. And I maybe won't achieve as much as everybody else. I won't get the really nice car. I won't have the really big house. But I'll have a house, a smaller house, and I'll have a car. So that's the ritualist. Excuse me. Number 4 is the retreatist. And these are people who reject both the culturally accepted goals and the culturally accepted means to obtain goals. So they literally say, I don't want the car, I don't want the house, I don't want the wealth, I don't care. And I'm not getting a 9 to 5 job. I will make my living or get my needs met through illegal means. I am retreating from society, right? I'm not going to follow your expectations of how to earn my money. I'm also not going to, cave to the stress of society's definitions of success through material wealth. A good example of a retreatist would be somebody who's a drug addict, right? A really severe drug addict who lives on the street. They have no desire to establish a career or any sort of pro-social functional life. And they have no desire to achieve anything other than getting their next fix and meeting basic needs of food and hydration, right? They're not interested in the house. They're not interested in the car. They're just literally interested in when can I get my next hit of fill in the blank. And the final reaction to strain, according to Merton, is rebellion. And that's number 5, rebellion. So this is when an individual will reject the cultural goals and the cultural means and then replace them with something else entirely. So let me give you an example of that. White supremacists, really hardcore white supremacists, are an example of rebels or rebellion, where they look at those culturally acceptable means and goals, the getting the legal job, paying your bills, saving your money, and they say, I don't want that, right? I don't want that. I want something else entirely. Take it off the table. Right. I want to, my focus here is changing, engaging in a race war and changing the demographics and the power structure of society. They literally don't care about the pressure of the goods and the means and so forth. They have an entirely different agenda. So they rebel from society and say, I don't want your stuff and I don't want to do it the way you think I should do it. I have something else in mind that I'm going to use to replace this entire scheme of focus in life, and I'm going to go about it in a very different capacity. So that is Merton's strain theory. And the interesting thing about Merton's strain theory is we have something here called theoretical revision. And that's when another theorist looks at an original theory and says, this is really good, but I think I can add something to it or I can revise it in some way that will bring value to the explanation of crime. And that's how we get into Agnew's general theory of strain. It's not a very fancy title. It is something that you have to make a distinguishment, though, between them because you've got Merton's strain theory and we've got Agnew's general theory of strain. You have to be able to distinguish them. And this is theoretical revision. Agnew says, hey, I'm with you. I'm with you, Merton. But I think there's a few more things that cause strain that your theory didn't hit on, and that's what he wants to add as explanations to why crime happens. And so he argues that yes, there is that disjunction of goals and institutionally accepted means of achieving those goals, but there's other causes as well. 3 other causes that he outlines of stress in his theory. And the first is going to be the inability to achieve positively valued goals. And this is any goal. It's not just a financial goal. Goals are going to be different from person to person. What's important to me may not be important to you and vice versa. But regardless of what's important to me or important to you, if it's a goal I want to achieve and I can't achieve it for whatever reason, I'm going to experience strain. I'm going to experience stress as a result. Agnew argues this also provokes crime, right? So if I can't achieve a goal, like I want to buy this car, I want to buy this house, but I can't make enough money to buy this goal, or excuse me, to achieve this goal, then okay, maybe I have to start engaging in crime to supplement my income in order to achieve that goal. And that will remove the strain because then I can afford my goal, right? So that's number one. Number two, under Agnew's theory, is the threat of, or the threat of removal of positively valued stimuli. And I know that's a mouthful, so let's break that down. So the removal of, or the threat of removal of positively valued stimuli. So anything of value to you, if someone or something, some agency comes along and says, we're taking this away from you, or hey, if you don't knock it off, or if you don't do this, that, or the next thing, we're going to take this away from you. Strain results, and crime will result as a result of that strain. So a really good example would be the loss of one's job, right? If you know that your job is on the chopping block, or maybe on the chopping block, you're going to experience strain and stress. How am I going to make a living? How am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to support my family? I feel stressed, right? And you might lash out, right? This is where we might see examples of like workplace violence, workplace shootings, things of that nature. People who, lose relationships, right? To you, it's a valued relationship. You want to be with that person, but that person doesn't feel the same way, and they say, "I'm leaving." We might see, acting out. We might see violence. We might see domestic violence. We might see intimate partner homicide, etc. So things of that nature. And that positively valued stimuli can come in all shapes and sizes, right? It could be like an inanimate object. It could be a relationship. It could be a job. But Agnew says, if you threaten to take that away, or you do take it away, people are going to feel stress, and that's going to cause them to deviate into criminality. The third stipulation of Agnew's a general theory of strain, or general strain theory, is the presentation of noxious or unpleasant stimuli. Noxious is just a fancy word for unpleasant, right? But the presence of noxious or unpleasant stimuli. So this, again, can be large or small. It can come in all forms. It could be confrontation with somebody who constantly irritates you and it escalates to a physical assault or a homicide. You in-laws, you get into, you're at Thanksgiving and everybody's angry and you're constantly on each other's nerves and it escalates into a physical exchange. It could be as something as small as somebody just, getting on your nerves in public and you lash out at them physically. But these three things, that inability to achieve positively valued goals, the threat or removal of positively valued stimuli, and the presentation of noxious or unpleasant stimuli, Agnew argues all of these things bring strain into the equation, and it results in any number of law-breaking behaviors, whether it's physical acting out, or it's physical violence, or it's aggression, or looking for illegal methods of earning an income in order to not lose that positively valued stimuli, etc. So he says that, Merton, you're spot on, but let me just add to it and make it a bit better. So please remember that Merton's strain theory is distinct from Agnew's general theory of strain, and that you need to know the postulates of each. But you also need to know that Agnew's theory is theoretical revision. It supplements Merton's theory. It builds on Merton's theory. It is a separate theory, but theoretical revision is building on previous work.